Hey everyone, welcome to a Konveyor update call. Today we have James, Savitha, and Ramon who will be sharing what's going on in the community in terms of like what's been happening in the last couple of months and just where we're gonna go in the future. So with that, or actually before I hand it over to James, we'll be putting the slides in the chat, and then if you have any questions, feel free to put it in. I think our call today will be pretty short. So James, it's all yours.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, hey, James Labaki. Happy to be here today. Thanks for joining us. I just want to take you through a quick update, and then I'll hand it over to Savitha. She's going to walk through some community updates, and then Ramon's going to take you through kind of a roadmap for Konveyor. So first off, just want to recognize, I know Jonathan had sent out an email to the list and everything, but still just want to recognize the fact that just within the last few weeks here, Konveyor is officially a CNCF sandbox project. So, congratulations to everybody that's been helping us to achieve this goal and hit this milestone. It's great. The team's been busy kind of transferring trademarks and other things, and we've got a long checklist of things that Savitha and many other folks are still working through as we transition into the CNCF. But very excited, hoping that this just encourages further collaboration in the community and helps us to even have more contribution and more utilization as well. So awesome job, really excited about the future here. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, earlier in the year, we actually ran conducted some research out of the Konveyor community. Several members of the community had funded this research report, and it was over 600 companies that were took part in this research, and we learned a lot about it. So if you haven't seen it, if you go to konveyor.io/modernization-report, you can actually pull this down and read through it. But we learned a lot about what the user community is doing and where they're going and what patterns we're seeing. And in doing that, one of the things that we recognized was that the largest amount of interest is not necessarily around rehosting workloads, so simply lifting and shifting them to the cloud, but the majority of the interest was really around replatforming and refactoring. And really, there's kind of this gap in that area around how can we accelerate and help people with tooling to replatform and refactor. The tools to rehost are pretty straightforward. Lift and shift, kind of move your VM disk image, move your VM to a different platform is one thing. But how do you actually start to decompose your application and make it easier to replatform and refactor was kind of the overwhelming response we've seen, both from meeting with end users and customers in the community, as well as just the research we've seen. So to that end, what we'd like to do is actually update the community mission. And so rather than actually having, you'll notice that the front portion of this is basically the same on the right-hand side, kind of this new update here, but really we're just refining some of this. Instead of just focusing on rehosting, replatforming, and refactoring, we really want to focus on tools and best practices for replatforming and refactoring applications. This is because, again, this is what we saw both in the research that we ran in the community, as well as just from speaking with users. This seems to be the biggest gap that they have, is understanding how to replatform and refactor and do that over one application to thousands of applications. So that's really going to be kind of our focus now. So given that, on this call, I kind of wanted to kind of explain some of the changes that are going to be happening inside the community. As those of you that are involved in the community might be aware, there were many projects underneath the Konveyor communities. We had just kind of I would say, almost like, if you're familiar with like the term big tent, we kind of had a big tent approach. Just let people bring their tooling, put it into the community, and then start to use it and let those kind of engineers and developers and users all mix together and figure out what problems they need to solve, and kind of really just be very open about it. But like I said, as we've looked at replatforming and refactoring is really the most pressing issue that most users want to tackle. We really thought it would be important to focus in on those and really drive more focus in that area. And so the 5 sub-projects, Crane, Forklift, Polaris, Tackle, and Move to Cube, you could see them on the bottom there. What we're working on doing is actually moving a Crane to a separate GitHub organization. So that development will still continue upstream on the Crane project, but really that is about moving between Kubernetes clusters and automating deployments while you're doing that. That doesn't really mesh with kind of the replatforming and refactoring focus of the Konveyor community. Similarly with Forklift, we're essentially working to transition that to the KubeVirt project, which is about running VMs with Kubernetes and orchestrating VMs with Kubernetes. So that really fits better in that project's mission and vision. So those crane and forklift are going to both transition from the Konveyor community in the coming weeks and months. And so you'll still be able to get them. They're still open source. There's still folks working on them, but they'll just be located in different areas. And so what we're going to do is take the remaining projects you see here, Polaris, Tackle, Move to Cube, and Tackle has many, many sub-projects as well. We're essentially going to put those together into Konveyor. So Konveyor will become a single project really focused on replatforming and refactoring of applications. We believe this move will kind of drive a better user experience for the community, and we think that this is really the area that over the last year and a half, 2 years inside the Konveyor community, we've recognized is the area that most users want to solve. So with that, really exciting to kind of move these projects in together and start to integrate them in a better user experience and kind of a more holistic, single project under Konveyor. So with that, I'll hand it over to Savitha, who's going to walk you through some of the community updates that have been taking place.
Hi everyone, my name is Savitha Raghunathan, and I'm going to talk about the Konveyor community and how can you get involved and get started with your contributor and collaborator journey. So as James mentioned, there have been like a few changes, and in order to better align, the Konveyor project has identified 4 major areas, and they are core, UI, analyzers, and add-ons. And each of these areas have their own special interest groups formed, and these groups are responsible for the development and integration and maintenance of the features identified within each areas, and also the collaboration. These SIGs are actually modeled after the success of the Kubernetes SIGs, which means the same principle also applies here, the principle of transparency and collaboration. Now that we have learned about the 4 major areas that we want to focus on and grow the project, let's see a little bit in depth and what they do. So starting with SIG core, as the name suggests, this SIG will be responsible for all the core features of the Konveyor platform. And these features are not just limited to, these features include but not just limited to the modernization report generation, integration of program management tools, data models, and more importantly, the design and implementation of the hub itself. And moving on to the next one, just kind of an important one, SIG UI. And this SIG is responsible for the user interface and the user experience across the Konveyor platform. And they're also working on creating a pattern where all the add-ons can come in and integrate with the hub dynamically. So that gives like kind of an easy interface, and then like people whoever want to add in their add-on can just follow certain rules and stuff and then just get easily integrated into the platform. And the next one is the SIG analyzer. These folks are working on creating an extensible pattern for the community to come in and collaborate on the analyzers. And these analyzers are going to target various different programming languages. And they're also working on the standardization of input and output format for the interaction between these analyzers and the Konveyor hub. The next up is SIG add-ons. And this SIG is responsible for the integration and development of add-ons that will enhance the Konveyor's capabilities. And these are some of the major responsibilities and roles of these identified SIGs so far. And I also want to like a little bit move into the community aspect of it. It is my favorite part. My contributor journey got started because of a community, and I'm super, super passionate about the Konveyor community. We meet on every first and third Thursdays at 9 a.m. Eastern, and these meetings are recorded and available for later viewing in case if you miss any. In this meeting, the main idea is to bring in all the contributors, collaborators, provide them a medium to talk about a topic, new ideas, discussions, create that environment for innovation and like bring in the sense of the community basically. And we will also be like highlighting the milestones, upcoming releases, what features are going to go in, and also provide contributors with a way to showcase what they have worked on. So for example, they worked on feature X, which is going to go in milestone Y, and there would be a little demo where they can showcase what they have worked on, and it's like the little feedback loop that we want to create. So these community meetings are going to be packed with all of these things. And in case if you have an idea and you want to contribute, you have questions and whatnot, you don't have to wait for a couple of weeks to reach out or wait for the meetings. You can asynchronously even collaborate with us. We have a Slack channel available, the Kubernetes Slack, where you can come in and put your questions and everything. And someone will be happy to answer. The next up is like an important thing that I want to tell. So if you're interested in like a one-stop shop where you want to learn about the announcements and updates and everything that's going on in the Konveyor community, I'd say subscribe to the Konveyor community mailing list. I have the link on the slides which are available. I think Jonathan had already posted the link, and it's all out there. So subscribe to it. You will learn about everything that's going on in the community, and even like a lot of update about the special interest groups and what's happening there, and opportunities to contribute and collaborate. And the next up is like the if any of these things are interesting to you and you are interested in learning more, I also have a link to the Konveyor community repo. It has a lot of information. It houses important stuff like the Konveyor governance, contributor ladder, and many more things. How you can even like get started guide, and so much of information about the special interest groups and their meetings, and all little details, agenda notes, everything is in that repo. So you can go there and like read about everything Konveyor. So a lot of interesting stuff's happening, and among between the various special interest groups in the Konveyor community. And I hope you find something that you like and you like to like get started and collaborate with us. And I hope the links provided are enough. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or any other Konveyor maintainers or any members in the Konveyor community. Lastly, I also want to like talk about the Konveyor workshop that is going to happen at the OpenShift Commons gathering at KubeCon North America on 25th October. In this workshop, it's going to be a hands-on workshop, and we're going to take you through the assessment and analysis of a sample application using the Konveyor platform. This is a great opportunity if you are going to get started with your modernization journey. If you already got started and then you are like looking to collaborate, provide input, and like how to grow, contribute, and it's like an amazing place to be, like amazing workshop. And we will also talk about some of the roadmap, and we will have plenty of time for discussions and take feedback. This event is free, and you can find the registration information in the link that I provided. You can also go to KubeCon, filter through the co-located event, find OpenShift Governance Gathering, and you can go from there too. And I think the more information on the registration is going to be available this week sometime. So I will. If you want to join, and if you cannot find the links, please feel free to reach out to me or one of the Konveyor maintainers. And any questions at all, don't hesitate. And if you're at KubeCon and you want to like say hi, please stop by and say hi. I'll be at the Red Hat booth sometimes, hanging around or around the project areas, or you can even reach out to me via Slack. That's all from me on the community, and I hope I'll see some of you around, and I can't wait to collaborate with you all. That's all from me. Next up is going to be Ramon. He's going to talk about roadmap.
Hey everyone, Hey, so Ramon Roman Nissen here, and yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the roadmap, and since we're dealing so much about or with the future, I just wanted to get started with things that are already available out there. So we just released Tackle 2.1, which, by the way, is going to be the last release under the name Tackle. After that, we will start releasing with the name Konveyor. So yeah, this thing is already available out there. It's already available in operatorhub.io, and there are some interesting features in there that I wanted to discuss with you all. First of all, we have the integration with DIVA, the Data Intensive Validity Advisor. This is a project that has been contributed by our folks in IBM Research. And yet we now have a seamless integration with Tackle. So everything is available in the main user interface. So you can enable this new analysis mode, and then you will get an additional transaction report available in your analysis reports. That includes a lot of information about the data layer of your application. So that will be the main feature that we've released with Tackle 2.1. Next will be the bulk delete of applications. Before 2.1, you were able to import applications at bulk with the CSV import, but it wasn't possible to delete them at bulk. There were some jokes around using interns for that, but we believe in human rights, so that's why we coded this bulk delete of applications. Pretty straightforward, nothing too fancy in there. Also, the automated creation of missing entities on CSV import. Before, everything had to be created previously on the controls, like the business services or the different tags. Now everything will be created automatically. This is something that was really requested from the field. And there will be some rules, new rules coming up, available in the next patch. There was some coordination problems in there, and we weren't able to ship these new rules on Tackle 2.1.0, but it will be available on the next patch. So we will have new migration paths to migrate from OpenJDK 11 to 17. And Microsoft has become a new player in the Konveyor community, and they have contributed some rules to migrate applications towards EAP and Spring Boot on top of Azure App Service. And finally, which I think is pretty important, we did a ton of bug fixing and optimization. So this release will be way more stable than Tackle 2.0 was. But yeah, I guess we're here to talk about the future. So next slide, please. Let's discuss a little bit what we will have in Konveyor 3. So we want to introduce the concept of migration waves in order to structure the effort required to migrate the application portfolio. Nobody out there does a big bang migration when you're dealing with 1,000 applications. So it's the usual approach here would be to somehow distribute your application portfolio in different migration waves. So we will have an assisted way to manage these migration waves within the main Konveyor user interface. We want to have full integration with Tackle Test Generator and Tackle Container Advisor. These were two projects that were already available as a standalone CLIs within the Tackle umbrella. We want to have to have both of them seamlessly integrated in the main user interface. In the case of the test generator, you will be able to generate all the tests for an application with a single click, and everything will be stored in your Git repository or Subversion repository. And for Tackle Container Advisor, we want to leverage the entity standardization capabilities of TCA in order to be able to understand the natural language description of the technology stack of an application and make it way easier to ingest data at a scale. Basically, simplify the CSV import and maybe some Excel import in the future. So you don't have to code your technology stack as a series of tags, but rather than a natural description of the stack itself. And this thing will take care of understanding what did you actually mean with that natural description. We also want to include some degree of integration with Jira in order to track progress in the whole migration process. So we will have a generic approach to the progress within Tackle itself. And then we will have different implementations of these issue management interfaces that we expect to build in order to delegate this work to external issue managers or task managers. So the idea is that you will be able to dump the work that you have in in Tackle and create issues in Jira that will be related to your applications within the portfolio, and then assign these issues to developers to perform the changes in your application portfolio. We also want to include custom migration targets. This is a request that comes straight from the field. I mean, most of the stuff is not, if not all, comes from the field. We are having a lot of conversations with many organizations and consulting and GSI firms out there that are sharing their experience with us. And from there, we are somehow finding requirements and features that might be useful for folks in the field. And this comes right from a series of projects that some consulting organization was doing out there. And they just wanted to abstract users away from the complexity of having to assign custom rules to each one of the analysis, and being able to do that in a way that the migrators wouldn't have to deal with these custom rules directly. So we came up with the idea of custom migration targets. We are fleshing this out in an enhancement, so you should see news coming from these anytime soon. Also, we want to enhance our integration or our management of custom rules, implementing an integration with repositories. So before, or in the current versions, you have to manually upload your custom rules. We want to be able to point to source code repositories to retrieve these custom rules as well. And finally, we want to improve the way tags are being managed right now in Konveyor or in Tackle. What we have seen, or the feedback that we've got from projects in the field, is that when you have a lot of tags assigned to an application, it's difficult for the UI to scale, and information is difficult to consume. So we want to reorganize the UI around tag management to make the whole thing more straightforward and easy to consume. And next, talking about Konveyor 4. So next slide, please. And this is us getting really futuristic about what could be included in Konveyor. First feature will be something that gets requested each time we present Konveyor and Tackle to any organization, GSI out there. We present the analyzer. Everyone thinks that it's pretty cool, but the very first question that is asked is, does it support any other language? And the answer so far is no, but we have started working on having this multi-language support for analysis. So we have been able to build a very early prototype that somehow demonstrates that we can leverage language server technology, the language server technology that Microsoft developed for the VS Code. We have demonstrated that we can leverage that to somehow decouple the analysis bit of things from the data model supporting the results of the analysis. So basically, we will, in the future, we will be able to support any language that has any language server associated to it. So pretty exciting, but we are on a very early stage of development for this thing. But I would expect that maybe on the second half of next year, we could have something that could potentially be shipped in a major release of Konveyor. Another thing that gets asked all the time is the generation of manifests. I have successfully adapted the source code of my application to run on containers. How do I get the manifest to have this thing deployed on top of Kubernetes? We want to somehow have a seamless integration for that. So Move2Kube has been doing things in that space for quite some time. We want to make, again, a seamless user experience that has this piece fully integrated on that. But we need to figure out how to leverage whatever Move2Kube has put together. And finally, we want to enhance the assessment module that we currently have. We kind of feel like, and the feedback that we got is that the assessment might be a little bit too opinionated. So we want to smart things up, make it a little bit more flexible. We're still gathering use cases and feedback for the assessment module, but we should be shooting for something to enhance it and make it more flexible to address the different scenarios that we find on the field. So talking about dates, next slide, please. As I said, Tackle 2.1 is already available. You can already upgrade your current Tackle 2.0 instances or install it from scratch. Regarding Konveyor 3, well, we were shooting for a release for Tackle 3 on Q4 2022, But since we're about to basically restructure the architecture for Konveyor and change some core components in order to make it more welcoming for other contributions, we will be shooting or pushing the release for Konveyor 3 instead of Tackle 3 for sometime around Q1 2023. And regarding the more futuristic, almost sci-fi stuff that we were discussing for Konveyor 4, we believe that we could have something around the second half of 2023. So that will be the rough roadmap and estimate that we have for the upcoming versions of Konveyor. And that will be it from my side.
Just wanted to, I guess, at the end, just say, so thanks to Jonathan for setting this up. Thanks for Savitha and Ramon for participating. Super exciting. Hopefully this gave you a good idea of where we've come, where, some of the community structure, how you can engage, and then also where we're going with the roadmap. So we'd love to see you. Please ping us on Slack, ask questions. If you see a feature that's missing or you want to contribute or you have some feedback, we'd love to hear it. So with that, thanks for attending, and we'll see you on the next update call.